This week's show brought to you by Roosters, a fun casual joint. Frank Shoup, Georgetown's big name in cars. The Bluegrass Method, cutting-edge basketball training with Scott County's own Michael Richardson.
Welcome, everybody, to a slightly abbreviated holiday edition of the Scott County Boys Basketball News Graphic Coaches Show. I'm your host, Cal, and we won't have any player interviews this week because that would have been impossible. Early Monday, Christmas Day, the team headed down to the Beach Ball Classic. I believe, I was counting up the other day, this is at least the 8th appearance in that tournament. It might even be more than that in the Billy Hicks era as they head to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. 10-hour trip on the charter bus. They've already got one, as we speak, almost a second full game under their belt. We'll gloss over the first game pretty quickly because it was ugly. A 60-41 loss to Cincinnati Archbishop Moeller. Moeller was ranked in the top 25 in USA Today in the preseason, and we found out why. They have a 6'11 center named Jackson Hayes, who is headed to the University of Texas on a scholarship. They also have a 6'5", he's listed at 6'5", small forward, Jeremiah Davenport. He does not play small. He plays much taller than 6'5". It was a dunk fest. Let's say it. Let's put it nicely. Scott County really stepped slow on defense and did not shoot the ball well at all. 29%, certainly the lowest I've seen in my 2 years here. And scoring-wise, 41 points was the second lowest total in 24 years of Billy Hicks being in charge of this program. Only the regional championship 2 years ago when they scored 39 against Dunbar was lower. So it was just a bad night all around. You want to flush that and get it out of the system and then come back and play in the consolation bracket against Myrtle Beach, and they appear to be doing just that. We're going to project them cable news style as the winner of that game. They were up about 30 early in the second half, were the Scott County Cardinals, as Michael Marino, Cooper Robb, Diablo Stewart, all in double figures, only 2 turnovers in the first half of that game while forcing 16. Scott County, for the second year in a row, well on its way to victory over the host team. Last year they drew them in the first round. Wasn't quite such a friendly draw in that opening round this year against Moeller, as Moeller, again, ranked nationally, and lost a tough game to Covington Catholic, a Kentucky school. So it's going to be a tough challenge. I think anybody that thought the Cardinals were a runaway number one and were going to run the table beginning to end of the season in the KHSAA, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some chemistry. The game against Myrtle Beach is a good step forward again. That'll make them 9-1. Then they're going to play Lynette, Alabama on Friday. That'll be another tough test. That's a top-ranked team from Alabama. And if they get through that, they'll be back on a live stream on Saturday that you can catch at beachballclassic.com. But it's a tough tournament. They always know it's going to be a tough tournament. They've never actually won it. They've been to the semifinals, at least, of the losers bracket and finished third a couple of times. Best they can do is 7th this year, but the Cardinals starting to dig their way out. We spoke last week with Coach Hicks before the team left. Want to get a feel from him about the history of Scott County being in that tournament. It's one of those things where I believe Dr. Blankenship had a relationship or knew the promoter of the tournament, the head of the tournament, as it were, a few years back, got Scott County into that, and it's just been kind of a regular thing every other year or so. Whenever Coach Hicks feels like he has a team that's good enough to make a run, he has taken his team down there, and most years he does feel he has a team that good. They sat it out a couple of years ago, but as we mentioned, they went last year, went this year again with that junior-dominated group. They'll be going back next year as this group becomes seniors, and certainly we would think will continue to make progress and be a state championship contender and maybe have a shot at winning that thing next year. But Coach Hicks got into a little bit of that history and also talked about some of the value of this tournament as a team-building exercise. We talked about the need for chemistry, the need for this team to kind of come together and develop its personality. This trip is always a big part of that. It was a big part of that last year, as a lot of late arrivals from football, not quite where you want to be in December, no matter what your record is. And the Beach Ball Classic goes a long way into building toward the Toyota Classic next month and, of course, the regional and state tournaments going forward. Let's see what Coach Hicks had to say about the 37th Annual Beach Ball Classic.
The top 2 high school players in the country highlight a week of unbelievably tough competition for Scott County.
Well, you go right down that list, Cal. You've got #1 player in the country, Barrett, whatever his name is, out of Monteverde, and he's got a good supporting cast too. Then you've got Spartanburg Country Day with Zion Williamson, his team. Plus you got DeMatha, Bishop Gorman. You got Long Peak out of Utah. You got Clark out of Nevada. You got #1 team in Alabama. Moeller, #1 team in Ohio. You got us right now. We're #1 in Kentucky in a lot of polls, and so, gosh, right down. They got 2 or 3 really the top teams in New York in it. So, it's always a challenge every game. In the winner's bracket or loser's bracket is a tough one. There's no easy games. And we're honored, Cal, because it is a #1 high school tournament in the country. And you can only play in it if you're a true high school. And everybody says, hold a minute now, Monteverde is not a true high school, but they belong to the Florida Association. So if you belong to the state association, you can play in the high school events. But there's a little asterisk there. The Florida Association lets them in, but they don't get to play in the tournaments. So that gets them, they can belong to the National Federation so they can play in high school tournaments. So that's a little bit of an asterisk on that right there. They get in it, and they belong to the National Federation, but they don't get to play in the Florida State Championships.
No matter how many times the cards go back, the Beach Ball Classic is a unique experience for each team.
It's really, Myrtle Beach is, I've been going there for 40-some years, maybe 45 years, back and forth, and as a tourist, but it is so much fun to go play ball. The guys, they put you up right on the beach, right on the beach, and the guys get to see the beach experience. They get to do that, and they get to meet kids from all over the country, And I think you got 2 more teams. We always meet a lot of good teams from Utah in there, and I asked the people from Utah last time. I said, yeah, because everybody's so nice. We meet from Utah. I said, they ain't bad people in Utah. They said, oh, we got jails like everybody else. But you do meet some really nice people, and you make a lot of friends and stuff. And you get to play against great competition. The people at Myrtle Beach sort of take us under the wing. We're like a home team down there. We play on Monday on the first night because at the prime time game because we draw a lot of fans. Everybody down there likes to come see us play because 90% of teams that play in that, especially teams that are competitive, are private or parochial schools. We're one of the few public schools that ever competes in it that has a chance.
Scott County finds itself in the unusual role of underdog when it gets to Myrtle Beach.
Maybe Scott County because we're a public school, but the only public school in it.
So you're seen as kind of like an underdog, which is totally different from around here, right?
Yeah, around here, nobody really pulls for Scott County except Scott County.
That's right.